Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. As always, I'm Jonathan, your host here at QuickBird Gaming. Thanks for tuning in for another video. I really appreciate that. On this week's episode of QuickBird News, we're covering all the gaming news for the week of Sunday, 9 February to Saturday, 15 February. There is a lot to cover this week, so let's get into it. The absolute first thing I have to talk about is the Sony State of Play, and this aired on Wednesday, 12 February. This showcase was an absolute extravaganza. There's so much that's coming out for PlayStation, and a lot of these games are coming out for PC, other platforms as well too. But it was an amazing amount of content. Too much for me to cover in this video. In fact, I really recommend you go watch the whole thing. It's only about 45 minutes, and there is so much preview of so many interesting titles out there. I'm going to link it down below. I recommend you go check it out. There were some games that looked new IPs, Lost Soul aside, Hell Is Us. These games looked really cool. We also saw that Borderlands 4 got its release date announced by Gearbox, and that's set for 23 September. Lies of P had a DLC announced, looked really good. Days Gone is getting a remaster. That news was mixed with a little bit of skepticism, especially since a lot of people keep waiting for a Bloodborne remake or remaster to be announced during these showcases, and it didn't happen again this year. So, unfortunately for the Bloodborne fans, that wasn't there. One thing I did want to focus on, though, was a game that was previewed called Tides of Annihilation. I had never heard of this game, had no inkling of it, but it looked really good. I'm going to show a little bit of the preview here.
No one knows how that world came into being. It devoured everything from the past. Only I was left. That was a fatal mistake.
I know. Looks pretty good, right? Looks like it's right up my alley. There were some things that were missing from this. Notably, there was no coverage of Ghost of Yotei. There was no discussion of Death Stranding 2. So there are some major franchises, major IPs out there that we're still waiting to see gameplay footage on. But I would say overall this was a pretty good showcase for Sony. Aside from the State of Play, Sony had kind of a Jekyll and Hyde week. This article from Dual Shockers, published on Thursday, 13 February, is good news. It says that the PS5 has passed 75 million units sold, and just 10 million units alone in the last quarter of 2024. And as you scroll down, they had further good numbers saying that not only are sales up, but PlayStation's monthly active users are up 5% year on year. Overall game sales are up 16%. Sony's raised its revenue forecast, and this has been in a year where Sony's been hit hard by some bad decisions like the Concord and Firewalk Studios purchase. But their hardware, their console systems sales are killing it. Is there a console war anymore? Is Xbox ever going to be a viable threat? It's pretty much down to PC, PlayStation, and Nintendo, and that's pretty much it. So good news for Sony. At the same time, this article over at IGN, published on Monday, 10 February, the outage from last weekend has put a lot of customers in mind of the 2011 hack when PlayStation Network was offline for like 3 weeks, and a lot of user information was compromised. Gamers are questioning that, and they're questioning how safe this last one was and what happened. And Sony so far has been kind of mum about it. Let's see, as you scroll down the article, it says, some PlayStation customers are demanding more information on the cause of the downtime beyond the vague operational issue and have pointed to the high-profile PSN data breach of 2011, where details for 77 million accounts were compromised. So there hasn't been a lot of information from Sony about this. I'm sure they're kind of holding their breath and hoping there was no further data breach, because this is just trouble they didn't need. So like I said, Sony had a really high and somewhat low week at the same time. Well, I talked about Sony. Now I have to talk about the black sheep of the gaming industry. And right now that title belongs squarely with Ubisoft. I have 3 articles here kind of showing where they are at this week, and it's still not that good. First one is this article from Eurogamer, published on Thursday, 13 February, and it reads, Assassin's Creed Shadows pre-orders are solid, in line with the series' second biggest launch. Now, most of this article actually talks about the cost-cutting measures that Ubisoft has had to do and they've had a bunch of layoffs this year already. But early on in the article, it does say that during an investor call that one of the Ubisoft executives said that the pre-orders for Shadows are roughly in line with where the pre-orders for Assassin's Creed Odyssey was, which was the second biggest launch. Now, I've seen a lot of analysis of this. A lot of people have parsed the details of the phone call, and some have arrived to the conclusion that what they're saying is that the pre-orders for Shadows have only been open for a few days, and that it's matching what the pre-orders were for Odyssey in the first few days of its pre-order period, but that they are not expecting the Shadows pre-orders to sustain the same way that Odyssey's did. I don't know how true that is. I don't know how accurate that's going to be. A lot of this is speculation. But what's not speculation is other things that were said in this investor call. And this article is from GameSpot, also published on the 13th of February on Thursday. Ubisoft doubles down on open world and live service games. I don't even know what to say at this point with this. I know Ubisoft has made a ton of money on these games. They seem to love this. I really have a hard time with them because I'm so tired of seeing gamers getting swindled out of content. And yes, I believe it's not in a legal sense, but in an ethical sense, it constitutes swindling, because what happens is all this content is made and then part of it is held back and not delivered with the product so it can be sold later. And I like a game to be a full experience that you can enjoy when you pay the ticket price for entry. But Ubisoft is failing the first basic principle of these games right now, in that they're not even producing a base game that people want. It's impossible to sell DLCs to a game that nobody buys in the first place. So that's the first hurdle they have to overcome. And that's shown as I go to the third article, and this is from GamesIndustry.biz from Friday, 14 February. Ubisoft revenues declined 31% to $990 million. Their revenues dropped under $1 billion for the first time in years. Now, I don't want to get too much into this article because GamesIndustry.biz likes to get into the nuts and bolts and exact dollar amounts and what it means. But it's not that hard to understand. It's painting a pretty grim financial picture for Ubisoft. Now, if I flip back to this GameSpot article, Ubisoft executive Fred Duguay, I don't know, I'm sorry, I'm probably mispronouncing that. He went on to list some of Ubisoft's upcoming projects that have been announced so far, aside from Shadows, more updates to Rainbow Six Siege, Anno 17 Pax Romana, Division Resurgence. He said that the company will share more details about upcoming games around May, which is when they release their next earnings report. I guess we'll see what happens then. I hate to say that. I hate to say that it's to be determined because I say that a lot, but really these stories are ongoing, so that's what I have to say. Everything for Ubisoft is pretty much resting on Shadows being a hit. They needed this to sell, really, I would say 8 to 10 million copies, and I bet it's going to sell 5 million in the first year it's out. It's just a gut feeling. I could be totally wrong, and I will say so if I am. But I have a feeling it's not going to do as well as they need it to do. It may sell enough to make back its production cost, but I don't think that's going to save the rest of the company. So this game comes out in a month, and I guess we'll see what we say. Next up is this article from Engadget published on Wednesday, 12 February. The headline reads, Overwatch 2's next update overhauls the game with perks and loot boxes. Now, this is kind of cool that Overwatch 2 Blizzard is putting major emphasis on change and upgrading their game here. The article goes into detail about how the perks will work, and it's apparently an entirely new mechanic. They talk about how the loot boxes will work and how you'll be able to obtain those to get the cosmetics out of them. And then even down below, it says, coming a bit later in Season 16, Overwatch 2 will get an entirely new Stadium game mode that draws inspiration from competing shooters Counter-Strike and Valorant. So adding maps as well. And then further, the cherry on top is all the new quality of life features Blizzard plans to add this year, like the ability to ban specific heroes from a match and vote on the maps you want to play. Plus, there are new heroes in the works, detailed below. So all this work they're putting into upgrading Overwatch 2, cynics would say they're doing this because of they've been startled by the success Marvel Rivals has had, and I would say the cynics are probably right. And this in turn will force Marvel Rivals to up their game as well. You know who wins in this? You, the players. We are the ones who win in this. So if you like team shooters, hopefully this is going to lead to you having better games to choose from. This Season 15 for Overwatch 2 is launching on February 18th as of the posting of this video. That's in 2 days. So get out there and tear up that new content and enjoy it. And speaking of tearing up new content, this article from GameSpot, published on Thursday, February 13th, reads, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 Studio reports it is approaching 2 million in sales. Now, this is rather amazing that this game sold, you scroll down here, 1 million copies in its first 24 hours. It has peaked at 250,000 concurrent users on Steam recently. This game is tearing the charts up right now, has been a very, very big success. Warhorse has big plans for future support for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. The game already has several pieces of announced DLC. Warhorse announced its year-long roadmap for the game with plans to keep supporting it for years. So we could keep seeing this content for this game for a long time, which is great news for people who like it. But here to me is the salient point that really makes me happy. As for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Warhorse Studios just announced yesterday that official mod support is coming to PC via Steamworks. Players can look forward to even more weird and wonderful mods for the RPG in the future. W move. Any game that makes it easier for players to make mods, to me, that is a winning freaking move. Because giving the players the freedom to mod the game to whatever they want to do, I don't care how weird or wild it is. This is what it's about. So, on top of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 doing quite well, I'm very happy to see this. I'm very happy to see what kind of mods we're going to see, because this is what it's about. This is about the player experience, and I love it. Next up is this GamesIndustry.biz article from Wednesday, 12 February. The headline reads, Remedy revenues ride 49% during FY24 as Alan Wake 2 recoups its development cost. The October 2023 horror survival title has exceeded 2 million units sold. So, it took almost 18 months, but Alan Wake, available on PS5 and on Windows through the Epic Game Store, might have got to 2 million faster if it had been available on Steam. Just saying. Finally, recouped its development cost and is starting to earn royalties for Remedy. And this is interesting. I played the first Alan Wake and it was okay. I didn't have a burning desire to play the second one, but I did really enjoy Control. And I know they're working on Control 2. It is now, according to this article, has shifted into full production mode. So I'll be looking forward to that. So this studio, at least, seems to be giving gamers enough of what they want to hang around. So they're doing better than Ubisoft, at least right now. Pound for pound, they may have more long-term viability. So I guess we'll see what happens when Control 2 comes out. And maybe they'll pull their heads out of their asses and actually put Alan Wake 2 on the biggest PC platform out there. Again, just saying. Briefly is this article from Video Games Chronicle, published on Friday, 14 February. The headline reads, 2 big Final Fantasy remakes are reportedly still in active development. And the 2 remakes they're referring to are for Final Fantasy IX and for Final Fantasy Tactics. The article says, according to noted industry insider Nate the Hate, who has a record of revealing information about games ahead of their official reveal, both titles, which have been rumored for several years, are still on the way. Never heard of this person? I don't know, so I'll have to take the article's word for it. But if this is the case, then Final Fantasy IX and Tactics are both still going to be remade, apparently. The reception for Final Fantasy VII Remake was pretty good, and Final Fantasy IX I expect will have about the same reception. If they do a good job on it, people will be receptive. And in this tweet, somebody asks about these games, and Nate the Hate says, both remain in active development. Final Fantasy IX Remake isn't expected to see release in 2025. Maybe we'll see it launch in 2026. Final Fantasy IX is on my playlist for this year, so I guess if I want to get the original, I better get it in. News from the Minecraft movie just keeps getting worse and worse. We have this article from Eurogamer, published on Thursday, 13 February. The Minecraft movie trailer reveals first look at its villagers, and they are a sight for sore eyes. That is putting it mildly. I'm going to scroll down and zoom in on this picture. And I want you all to take a moment to just scream. I have no idea what in the absolute hell we're looking at here. The Minecraft movies should have been such a 100% easy layup, easy money, and they have fucked it up from top to bottom. Yeah, I know it's not for me. They say it's for the kids. Honestly, I have no idea who this is for. This abomination releases, I think, in March or April, and yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it. After that last bit of unpleasantness, I feel like I need a palate cleanser to kind of wash the taste out of my mouth. So I wanted to finish on something with an article that really excites me. And this comes from PC Games In, which is posted on Friday, February 14th. And the title reads, System Shock 2 Remaster has a new name, and soon it'll have a launch date too. Now known as the System Shock 2 25th Anniversary Remaster, this long-awaited FPS will get a release date revealed next month at GDC, at Games Developers Conference. I am excited about this because mostly because I had no idea it existed. System Shock 2 is one of my favorite all-time games. It is in my top 5 games of everything I've ever played, and I really love it. I still, even though it's 26 years old now, I still pull it off the shelf to play once in a while. And the fact that it's getting remastered, this tickles me, and I'm really excited. I could be, especially like I said, because I had no idea this was even happening. So this is really cool, and I'm really looking forward to it. You know, I make it a point, I say again and again, that I never buy games, I never pre-order, I have not bought a game when it came out. The last one I did, as of making this video in 2025, the last game that I bought the day of release was Fallout 4 10 years ago. I might have to break my rule on this one. Because especially if they're just remastering it and they're not remaking it. And I know I'm going to get the same core gameplay, but with better graphics and a QOL improvements, quality of life improvements. Yeah, I'm giddy like a schoolgirl. I am excited about this. So this is a good note to end on, and I'm really, really excited. And that's going to do it for this episode. That's 7 days of gaming news covering 9 to 15 February. I appreciate you all tuning in. If you made it this far to the end, thanks for hanging in there. If you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to the channel. I know I've got a small channel and I'm trying to grow it, but I'm trying to do it organically with people who are genuinely interested, not pad it with a bunch of artificial numbers. So if you do enjoy it, please consider joining into the family. Drop a like on the video or a comment. If you saw something you enjoyed, let me know. If you saw something you didn't enjoy, put that in a comment too. I appreciate that. It tells me what I can improve. So, I guess it's time to wrap this up. I'm going to go see what other information I can find on System Shock 2's remaster, because I am really excited. Like I said, really excited about this. And I don't know how I didn't know about it. I just, slipped through the cracks. But it was a pleasant surprise. So, thanks again once again for tuning in. You all go out there, live your best lives, and y'all stay gaming.